Back when even the logos were more creative. Welcome. This is VectorMan for the Genesis. One of the definitive titles from the end of the Genesis official lifespan. Such good music, such a cool vibe. So we're gonna play on Insane. Because I am, after all, a lunatic. I have done it on a live stream, so I figure I should do it here for this playlist. VectorMan sold really well. It's very popular. Got a sequel. A third game was in development for PS2. There was a playable build at some point, and then Sega just abandoned it. And games 1 and 2 have been re-released on almost all of the Sega compilations, so at least the original games haven't been completely forgotten, but like the franchise has been abandoned by Sega. It's like, come on, y'all. VectorMan's cool. We need more. I forget, do these automatically scroll? They do. It just takes a while. The plot's pretty much like WALL-E, but cooler and more 90s. For better or worse, depending on how you look at it. I mean, at least in parts, it's already an instrument of death, so probably don't need a robot gone amok for that to happen. But yeah, VectorMan is essentially a robot garbage man, for lack of a better term. He's just out doing his job, and all of a sudden it's like everything's out of control. Hold on. So from all of my testing, Insane isn't really any harder as far as enemy behaviors and how many hits they take to destroy. It's kind of like Aladdin. Oh shoot. I'm off to a great start. Some missable power-ups. Totally just... Jumped right past. Let's see. Off to my left there's a path that you can only get to from the beginning of the level. Anyway, the higher difficulties, you start off with a lower health pool and fewer spare VectorMan. So, as a kid that was still playing Genesis, clear through 1995 and 1996, like, this was amazing. Oh well. Like, this was essentially Sega's answer to Donkey Kong Country. Like, pre-rendered graphics was all the rage. It was like, oh, we can we can create our graphics on these high-tech workstations and then import the assets as sprites. So, you gotta get around hardware limitations at the time. So yeah, neither the Super Nintendo nor the Genesis would be able to create 3D models of this caliber. Completely on their own, and also in playable form with all these environments, other assets going on. So VectorMan, it seems on observation like a run and gun, like Contra or Gunstar Heroes, but I consider it more of an action platformer. Like, the shooting is a big part of the gameplay, but it's gonna test your platforming and exploration skills more than anything else. For the most part. And it's a very simple control scheme that's just run and jump. But you have a double jump, which can also act as a weapon, which is very important for certain parts of the game. And it has in common with a lot of platformers of its day. Sorry. Like the time limit and stuff like that, which is occasionally annoying, but it's usually not that bad. Unless you're going for, like, trying to get every photon and every TV, then sometimes it can be like you're feeling really under pressure. Yeah, I had VectorMan almost from launch. I think we rented it when it was brand new on the shelves, and then like later the same year that it released, managed to get a copy. And it very quickly became, along with Sonic, one of my most played Genesis games. Even my dad would look at it and be like, VectorMan, it's cool. He liked the little voice samples that sometimes play when he gets power-ups. Especially in VectorMan 2. VectorMan's more talkative in the sequel. For better or worse. This is one of those levels that probably confused a lot of people when they rented it, or just giving it a try in whatever fashion. This should have been more of like a bonus stage. It's like, it's not immediately obvious what you're supposed to do. Besides not die. But it just changes up the gameplay without much warning. Like a literally on-rails, vertical shmup, sort of. All you have to do is shoot Warhead a certain number of times. There you go. Isn't this music so rad? this was the point where we're definitely coming up against the limits of the Genesis hardware, but aside from some occasional slowdown when there's like a big explosion, the game runs very smoothly. It is extremely responsive. And the different weapons that VectorMan can get, they're not quite as iconic as something like Contra, but it gives a nice little variety, and it's cool the little morphs that he can do. Like, there's certain instances like this one where it almost serves no purpose, because just kind of going back the way you came, but if you're trying to get all the points and power-ups, it's just one of those things you gotta do. I'm certainly not by any means trying to get every power-up in every level, but it is better to, at least in the first few levels, try to stock up on lives, and you can find the orbs that increase your maximum health. Those are priceless. And if you get one of your score multipliers, that also applies to power-ups, so including 1-ups and health-ups. This game's definitely, I'd say along with Comic Zone, it really defines the 1995 Genesis and Mega Drive. Like, the Saturn was already out in Japan, the PlayStation was coming, you know, the N64 wasn't on the market yet, but everybody knew that it was inevitable that the Super NES was going to have a successor. So this was a nice last hurrah for the Genesis. You know, at the time I didn't know what was going on at Sega, and all the internal conflicts and all the stuff happening, you know, the infighting between Sega of Japan and Sega of America. Japan was basically ready to go all in on the Saturn. But then there was still the harebrained 32X idea. But then in the US, you know, the Genesis was still a smash hit. For understandable reasons. Oh, shit. I had the 10 times multiplier. You know, they didn't want to let go of the Genesis. And of course, I didn't want to. All of us who were fans of it back in the day, you know, we didn't want to let go. Of course, when you don't have the money to go out and buy every new system, of course, you also want to see your current console supported, and that also included computers. So, you know, I really liked PC gaming back in the day. And it was also nice to see, like, stuff supported our current hardware supported for as long as was feasible. Like, I know there's a big obsession, especially in PC gaming. It's like, oh, we always want to push our hardware as far as it can go, like, you know, make my PC sweat. I want my graphics card to go above and beyond. Well, that's all well and good, but how about optimization and making the most of what you've already spent so much money on? And now here we are in the land of diminishing returns, where it's like, the further and further you go, the less you're gonna get out of it. At least as far as visual fidelity and even performance reaches a certain point where it gets harder and harder to even tell the difference. No, I did miss a TV. I don't know why I thought I missed a TV down there. Isn't this level cool? I'll see myself out later. Hey, hey. Really? Really? Okay. That's how it's gonna be. Okay. It's almost like his hit points were resetting every time I left the screen. This is one of those stages that is difficult to get 100% in within the allotted time limit, because there's also a boss fight. I want to at least get the health increase. That's right, VectorMan. There we go. I think I'll make a dash for the boss now. No need to waste a life on a time over. on, Mr. Boss. There we go. Yeah, you can see on bosses like this how useful it is that your boost jets can do damage. You don't scare me like you used to, boss. Oh, shit. Yeah. It is funny to look back at the things that would spook me as a kid. Like, not literally scared, like... but just kind of, like... intimidation, that's the word. These mosquitoes are irritating. And in many spots, they don't stop spawning, which is a problem. It's only useful if they, due to RNG, will drop the health pickup. Look at this waterfall, isn't this incredible? Like, these visual effects were stunning, and they still are. So if you blinked and missed it at the beginning, this game was made by Blue Sky Software. They did a lot of work for Sega. They did the Jurassic Park Genesis game. Did some sports titles like I think Joe Montana Football, at least one of them. They also did the Genesis conversion of Starflight, which was then published by EA. And if you play Jurassic Park on Genesis, you can kind of see how the art style, animation, the music, and the general vibe of that game is almost like a prototype for VectorMan. There is a bonus round you can get to in this level if you destroy the shield around that satellite. I'm already running kind of low on time, so I'm not gonna worry about it. It's one of those things where if the route I take through the level accommodates it, then I'll go for it, otherwise I'll just proceed as normal. But I finished off that, like, sub-boss faster than expected and had a minute left, so I was like, well, I'll go ahead and do it. There have been times where I've gotten here and only finished off Marge with, like, 20 or 30 seconds left, and I just make a beeline for the exit. They're so much easier to defeat when you have the spread shots work out. it's a weird bonus stage. It's like taking the title screen and turning it into some kind of a goofy four-directional whack-a-mole. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it. Except the moles can shoot at you, and then there's asteroids, mines, or whatever. Loser bonus. Thanks a lot, game. Appreciate you. I'm guessing this is probably a level where a lot of people, how should I say it, where the game lost a lot of people, especially ones that rented it. This isn't a level where you can just get away with going from left to right. You'll find the exit eventually. I mean, it still generally flows from left to right, but... Thank you. To this day, I'm still in love with all the little lighting effects. You go from shade to light here. Like, it's a small thing. It shows an attention to detail within strict hardware limitations. It just looks cool. VectorMan just exudes 1995 cool. I don't know, I hate to say you had to be there, but I don't know, maybe if what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, maybe you have to be there. Who invited you guys? Which was not I. There's a standard way to beat this boss, which is what I'm gonna try to do. And then there's the cheap way, which is... VectorMan has a very generous invincibility after he's hit. You can essentially spam that. So if you get stuck on this boss, you can just keep running into him. So you're probably better off just damaging this guy with your jump jets. Then you have an easier time evading the counterattack. There we go. Just kind of irritating, but not terribly hard. I'm trying to do a better job of also staying hydrated, both during live streams and even pre-recorded videos like this, because it's insanely hot. The time allotted to me to record today meant that I needed to, I'm playing this while my building is getting baked by the rising sun. It's another one of those obtuse levels that you just won't see coming. Like, it's visually creative, but it's kind of like... What the heck's VectorMan doing on a rolling, gigantic bamboo sheet? What is VectorMan even doing? Why is VectorMan? Oh, why couldn't you have dropped that earlier? So, how cool are VectorMan's morphs? Now imagine, like... You know, if you really go crazy with that in a new game, and like the VectorMan 3 that Sega was working on had destructible environments as well, so just imagine like, all these cool new power-ups and morphs, and then you have environments that respond to you the way, like, they would in a game like Red Faction. Like, that'd be so awesome. Get on the stick, Sega. New era, new energy. Give us new VectorMan. Just saying. There. I didn't ask for your opinion, Fire Hydrant. Sometimes you just gotta let it go. I guess we'll try that bonus round again. The bonus rounds in VectorMan 2 are way more interesting. See, all you do in this is just with the D-pad, like... And honestly, no offense to the Blue Sky peeps, this feels like one of those things that was thought of at the last second. Oh shoot, we need a bonus round. Well, let's recycle the title screen. I don't know, it's not bad, it's just... When you see the VectorMan 2 bonus rounds, and then compared to this, it's like, oh, those were a little bit more thought through, interesting, and fun. bonus. Yeah. This is one of the coolest levels. Great mood, great lighting, good parallax scrolling. Almost feels like it comes a bit from Shinobi 3. It's destroyed. Thank you. Not. While I had the 10 times multiplier, I should have made a dash for the 1-up. That's later. Not going for perfection. But trying to set myself up nicely in case I have problems with the boss later. Excuse you. There we go. It's such a 90s boss. It's like, the obsession with making things that look 3D. It's like... Well, we'll make characters out of orbs. That'll do it. It looks very much like a Gunstar Heroes boss as well. Or the famous, or is it infamous, Balls 3D fighting game? They're an invisible man, never mind. Demolition Derby Dune Buggy thingy. That's something you always want to see when you destroy a TV. We don't need the bonus round that badly. You've already seen how that goes. This is another one of those just weird levels. It's like, how was I supposed to expect this? What do I do? I don't have a very elegant strategy for this, other than just get in close and spam your attack. It's difficult otherwise to survive. Those little tornadoes bounce you around so much. So I know somebody would be like, oh, they keep reusing the same, like, stage as the first one. It's like, well, it makes sense, though, in the context of the world. And this looks cool. Lightning's awesome. I'm learning. I didn't pick the downgrade for multiplayer. Oh yes, full health is me. Nothing like 16-bit lightning. That's a different kind of blast process. And look at the little flies around the light. Isn't that such a cool detail? Come on. Come on. Photons are belong to me. Sure, there's something out there that I'm driving nuts. Like, why did you collect all the things? It's... Just making this up as I go. I collect what I deem necessary. Try to learn something from Melee and Metal Gear Solid. Just because you see an item doesn't mean you have to grab it. Sometimes it's not worth the risk. Unless I was doing a run where we were trying to do all photons and all TPs. Which could be a fun challenge. But cycling back to, like, the end of the Genesis lifespan, like, as much as I love this game, I think this and Comic Zone, and maybe not even Comic Zone, should have been the last hurrah for the Genesis. I honestly think Comic Zone should have been on the Saturn, and then VectorMan 2 should have been put on the Saturn. I think, for a few reasons, like, I think VectorMan 2, or VectorMan 1 is like the swan song of the Genesis, right? And then you say, like, okay, everybody who loves VectorMan, here's VectorMan 2 on the Saturn. It's kind of like a way to get people interested. Because one of the problems in the West is, you know, people look at the Saturn and like, where's Sonic? Where's VectorMan? Where's Streets of Rage? Golden Axe? Like, as cool as the new ideas, like Nights into Dreams were, and the arcade ports, like, there was not enough of what people loved about the Genesis to bring people over to the Saturn in the West. And Comic Zone, it came with a bonus CD on the Genesis. I'm like, well, if you've made it on the Saturn, you could just put all of that stuff on one CD and save a lot of manufacturing costs. And then the 2D capabilities of, what is it? I'm probably about to misspeak. VDP2 on the Saturn board. Could have done some crazy sprite scaling effects with these games. So as much as I love the Genesis, and it's my favorite console, I think this game here should have been kind of like the final, like, major first-party investment on Sega's part for it. And then if they did want to keep it on the market, you know, license it out to Majesco, like, they eventually did, but, like, they should have done it maybe after 1995, just like, okay, any of the games on this, like, that's on you, Majesco. But that might have been enough to get me to invest in a Saturn instead of a PlayStation, because, you know, my family had been burned by the 32X. So that made us less inclined to get a Saturn. But I think having exclusives like a decent Sonic and VectorMan 2 and Comic Zone would have helped be kind of a band-aid to the whole 32X debacle. I mean, it still would have been tough, because as soon as I saw games like Final Fantasy VII and Tomb Raider 2 and Crash Bandicoot and Jet Moto, it's hard for me to resist the allure of the PlayStation. I mean, what a time to be alive, you know, when your choices end up falling between, you know, the final days of the Super NES and the Genesis, and then you have the PlayStation and the Saturn, and then the new comer to the market, the N64. It's like, wow, yeah. What a time to be alive. Now, I know this series of bosses throws a lot of people. And it can be very tricky. Especially if you screw up like I just did. That one's not too bad. I think this is the one that throws a lot of people. It's the Piranha Robot. There is one trick to jumping over it. You have to delay and using your boost jet. That gives you a little bit more distance, because if you boost immediately, you're in the air longer. Or you go higher at first, but you lose your momentum. So you get a little bit of a momentum boost when you hit your jump jets, and not just height. So if you delay it just a little bit, you can outpace the fishy. That one can be tough. Like, that one's a little bit of psychological warfare, because he's got this kind of crazy pattern, but if you can goad him into jumping to the floor, it's manageable. But, yeah, tough little series of fights there. I'm sure a lot of game overs have been had there. I mean, I've had it there. Especially when I didn't know where as many of the one-ups were, or generally wasn't as good at the game. Look at this cool little pre-rendered animation in the background. It's so awesome. It's so 90s. It might be one of the very 90s things in this game. Oh, all these poor CRTs being blown up. It's like, if only we knew. Oh, not my cathode ray tubes. Is that a secret wall? Guess not. Don't mind me, I'm just flying around with my jetpack. That must be a secret path. I guess that's a destructible wall. This is a level I probably explored the least as far as finding secrets, because usually by the time I get to this part of the end, I'm like, freaking out, like, oh, I'm so close to the end, let's just get it over with. Before I die horribly. Day, hydrant dog. Thought you were gonna get me. Yep. You are not a good boy. You are especially bad. Backtrack for nothing. Double nothing. Can't frighten us with your sorcerer's ways, Vaders. Even VectorMan laughed at that one. That's so fun. Nothing over there. Nothing over there but pretty lights. Photons be free. Not to be confused with the novel created by the Doctor from Star Trek Voyager. Alright, here we go. Final boss time. Being attacked by CRTs and lawn furniture. Dramatically at that. That wasn't a good start. That's not a good start to the boss fight. So many cool visual effects going on now. Darn it. It's generally best if you can land back on one of the platforms. I never did anything to harm any lawn furniture. Be gone, you. By the powers of blast processing and parallax scrolling, I banished the warhead. There you go, folks. There's VectorMan. One of the last great all-time classics on Sega Genesis. An absolute must-own, in my opinion, if you collect original cartridges. This one's not very expensive. It sold extremely well for its time. It's also available on numerous compilations and collections, so I can't recommend it highly enough if you like action platformers. Or if you are approaching it like a run-and-gun, like a slower version of Gunstar Heroes, maybe it'll still have some appeal. This is one of those things in classic games that I really miss. With the roll call of all the enemies. Just like in classic Doom, as well. And the old Turtles beat-em-ups on NES. It's good stuff. It also kind of plays into the celebration that you finish the game, and then it's like, yeah, look at everyone that you've just bested. You're the hero. And the fine folks that made this wonderful game. Alright, well, thank you for watching, and thanks for playing. As we let the remainder of the credits roll through here, I would just like to take a moment to do the thing that I don't necessarily enjoy doing, but it's necessary. If you want to help me keep the lights on and have the flexibility to make more videos like this for y'all more often, and to improve the quality and eventually get upgraded equipment, particularly like as far as cameras and microphones, and maybe even a new desktop at some point. Please check out the links in the description for ways to throw any currency that you can spare in the tip jar. It's greatly appreciated. Not required. I do this for love and out of the passion of it, but reality has necessities. And the more I can do this for you guys, the happier I'm gonna be. Because with my health struggles, it's really difficult to throw everything I have into my current day job. It really takes a lot out of me and removes a lot of my ability to do creative projects like this. So anything that anyone can spare is greatly appreciated. Even if you just want to buy me a tea, that's especially in this heat. Super awesome. Alright. That's it for VectorMan 1. We will eventually do VectorMan 2. But I do like to spread the sequels out. For the most part. But see y'all, have a wonderful day, and thanks again for your time and your support. Have a wonderful day.